Now, it is my privilege and honor to welcome one of our most distinguished alumni, Mr. Prateek Lala, to this special interactive panel discussion. Mr. Lala is currently a partner at Trilegal Bangalore, one of India's leading law firms. With over 15 years of rich experience in the legal profession, he has advised clients across a wide spectrum of areas, including mergers and acquisitions, private equity, and corporate commercial advisory. His in-depth knowledge and strategic insight have earned him a stellar reputation in the legal community. Notably, he has been recognized as a future legal leader by the India Business Law Journal, a testament to his outstanding contribution and leadership in the field. As an alumnus of our very own institution, Mr. Lala's journey is not only inspiring, but also a guiding light for all aspiring legal professionals here today. We are truly honored to have him back with us to share his insights and experiences from the world of high-stake corporate law. We welcome you, sir.
Thanks for the kind words, and thank you for welcoming us in such a grand way. Yeah, I mean, once upon a time, like you said, we were sitting there, and I was probably that corner person trying to get a napkin or something. But I want to start with discussing about my journey to law firms and then how I sort of rose up the ranks. Initially, it was not easy. We were just discussing with sir that when we joined CMR, we were in one room, and we were like 30 people, 35 people, and the entire college was made of I think 50 people at max. So it was how do I put it? It was a sort of a risk coming to CMR, but given the pedigree that CMR had at that point in time, we thought maybe law school also will do well, and we were not wrong. CMR blessed us with some wonderful lecturers. Srinidhi sir at the back. We've not had the pleasure of meeting you then, sir, but Srinidhi sir, Zul sir, there were a bunch of people who really taught us very well, and we sort of imbibed all of that knowledge and tried to inculcate that in our daily sort of activities. But what really helped me was the first year of college. We were, as you all know, we are all quite clueless as to what this profession is, what we do, how we go about earning a livelihood in 5 years' time. But the second year onwards, I had an epiphany of sorts where, I wanted to go and do some internships with some firms. I had a couple of connects and I reached out to them. And I told them that, listen, I want to do a couple of these diploma courses and I want to do a couple of internships. How do you think about that? So there was this kind gentleman who, allowed me to intern with him. And there was no real looking back from there. I interned with this firm called Universal Legal, now it's called ICUL, I think. I interned with them for a couple of years after college hours. That time our college timings were till about 2 o'clock. So I would go from college to the law firm to work there and to gain practical knowledge, which everybody told me was absolutely key in this profession. At the cost of not trying to diss our education system, but some of the stuff that we study in college, the practical aspects of it is very different when you go out and work. So having real-time experience in a profession is absolutely key. While of course what you're studying in your classroom is really helpful for you to understand the basics of law and you to understand certain critical concepts. The application of that is very different in the real world. And that's the insight that an internship gave me. And I used to work there for, like I said, after college hours for about from maybe 3 p.m. to about 10 p.m. every day. Of course, it was difficult at times. Friends would call me, let's go for a movie or something of that sort, and I would have to say that, listen, I have to go and work. At that time, it all seemed very hard work, but now looking back, I'm very glad that I did that because it not only sort of gave me an insight into the practical aspects of practice, but also, hardened me up as a professional. So I worked there in Universal Legal for about 1.5 years. Then I joined another company called Prateek, where the work was slightly different. It was an in-house sort of internship. And then I moved to a firm called Lexgen. That's where I sort of picked up mergers and acquisition, private equity and venture capital sort of practice. But the thing is, these subjects were never taught to us in college, because at that point in time, the curriculum did not involve these evolving practices. So the only way to really pick that up was practical experiences, trying to learn from your seniors, trying to see them in action and figure out what you should be doing going forward. Of course, some aspects like company law and constitutional law, all of these things are obviously present, but as soon as I joined the profession, the company law only changed. So that was not very helpful. But yeah, again, we had to go back to the drawing board and figure out as to how I should be doing it. But yeah, net, I think the key at that point in time in my career was to persevere, and that's still the case today. If you're able to persevere, and it's a very hard profession, make no bones for it. It is. There are long nights. There are struggles. There are blood, sweat, and tears involved until you will make it to an associate position, or you start your own practice, you go in house. So I mean, it was not all that bad. I also had my fun during my college, and and we had a good time as well. But I made sure I was not losing sight of my goal, which was to try and sort of land a job in one of these law firms. And seemingly for me, the best way to do it was through an internship. And I did multiple of them, and I'm sure your peers and you all also are interning in various organizations. And that practical aspect really sort of shows up your ability, and you are able to, you're able to put your best foot forward when it comes to a fresher role. You have to understand every single state nowadays have a national law school. So you are competing with thousands of lawyers coming out every year, right? And there's that much amount of work, and there's that much amount of clientele that you gather. So the competition is immense, and you will need to sort of have that edge, so which can help you sort of get through the race faster and ahead of your competition. So that was that until I reached the fresher position of the PPO that I got. And from then onwards, it was just pure hard work. It was application, it was reading the law, and now, I mean, all of you all have access to AI and various online resources, but when we were starting up, we had to really look at our commentaries and our books and really read the law and apply that to practice. And there was no substitute of that, and honestly, even today, I don't think there's a substitute for that. You have to absolutely be spot on with your analysis, with being street smart, and also working smart.
Okay.
There are obviously very long hours involved in say a law firm. So you start off with again not knowing very much. You are usually mentored by a senior associate in a law firm, and you are mentored by a senior associate. Then thereafter you're mentored by a partner. So it's very key to also select, if you have the ability to select your boss, select your mentor, so that because a mentorship in any aspect of this profession, including in colleges, etc., like we had Srinidhi sir for a mentor, right? It's absolutely critical to select your mentors correctly, and that's something that will take you ahead. So I did that well. I had a very good boss, but it's quid pro quo, right? At the end of the day, you have to also service clients, and you also have to do your work well. Uh, so I went about by just applying myself. It's not rocket science at the end of the day. While it is complicated, there's nothing that we cannot do. So that initial years was just struggle, just long hours, application, and there's no substitute for hard work at that point in time. It does ease out a little bit when you reach a slightly more senior role, because then you will have a couple of people under you. But throughout the 15 years I've been in the profession after college, the few things that has sort of held me in good stead, like I said, is perseverance. There's no sort of substitute for that. The networking, that is super important. And by networking, I don't mean that you have to speak to some clients or anything, but networking even amongst your friends, amongst your peers, wherever you go for an internship, networking with your bosses or your seniors, that is key, because that interpersonal relationships is what helps develop your relationships, say in a law firm or even in your career. Because I got my first job because I networked well during my internship, and someone told me that why don't you come and work with me, because they had a good relationship. So building your relationships absolutely. That's second. The third is of course, like I said, application, hard work. You are in a profession where you are required to read a 1,000-page book. Sometimes my friends see a book at my house and they're like, "What are you doing? I mean, why are you reading this?" But it is what it is, right? You've chosen a profession which is not easy, which requires a lot of labor and a lot of application. So you will have to do that. You will have to put in the long hours. A lot of interns who come to me nowadays are quite shocked with how we work, because we are all working for 12, 14 hours a day. But now that's a given in this profession. How India is evolving as a legal jurisdiction, it is given that you have to put in the hours. So you better be ready for that. And I think these three things have really sort of helped me move my journey forward. And about you guys, again, please do as many sort of internships as possible, write as many articles as you can, get it published with the help of your lecturers. Try and network from now with people so that your ability to get a job is much higher. But basically be out there. If you're out there, if you're visible, you will land something, so long as you have the expertise and the sort of the ability to handle the rigors of this profession. Look, at the end of the day, it is a high-paying profession. If you got it right, I don't think any other peer in similar industries will earn as much as you. But for that, there are sort of steps that you will have to take. And these are not hard steps. You just have to sort of read up, research, and you should be able to sort of crack it. I'm happy to take any questions thereafter. I think we have a question answer session. Yeah, okay. So happy to take any questions. But lovely to see you all. Like I said, I've been there, so it's nice to come back to college and see all of you all sort of. I'm also happy to see no one's wearing uniform. So they had a problem with that. But yeah. So good luck and happy to take question answers during that session.
Thank you for your motivating words, sir. Now it is my pleasure to welcome yet another accountant at University, Mr. Surup Chaudhuri, to this interactive panel discussion. Sir is currently serving as counsel and a leadership team member at United Breweries Limited, a Heineken company. With a career spanning top-tier companies, he brings with him a wealth of practical insight from the corporate legal world. Prior to his current role, he has held key legal positions at the Indian Hotels Company Limited and Hindustan Unilever Limited, two of India's most respected and dynamic organizations. His diverse experience across sectors such as FMCG, hospitality, and beverages, gives him a unique perspective on the evolving role of in-house counsel in today's complex legal and business landscape. We're truly honored to have Sir with us today. As he joins the panel discussion, we look forward to gaining experience and understanding of corporate legal strategy, compliance, and leadership in practice. We welcome you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful welcome. I am not sure I'm audible. If I'm not, then probably good news for all of you. When I was invited for this panel discussion, I was wondering why was the invite sent to me, especially by Nithi sir. Then I realized, in a panel discussion, you need two sets of examples. You need an example of what you should be doing as you progress, those other two people sitting there, and what you should not be doing, which is what I will tell you about. It is interesting to be standing here on the other side. We have generally been sitting, as Prateek was saying, right at the end. And I am not very sure I have much to tell you, which would really help you, navigate this profession. As a journey, I guess I did not have the advantage of working beyond companies. I've always been in-house. Prateek and Viren, of course, have had the advantage of seeing the profession beyond companies. So, they bring in much more interesting aspects, which I'm sure Viren will share with you after this boarding part. But as far as companies are concerned, I think, one challenge that you will definitely find if you wish to go in-house, which I'm not encouraging you for, is that if that is the goal, then maybe that's not where you start, because companies are not known to take freshers. There are very few who do, and that's just far and few companies for you to try and get recruitments from. So whenever I have spoken to people, I have always said, just start off, start working in a firm, start practicing, get the experience under your belt, and then if working in-house is your dream, then it will happen. In fact, people like Prateek, Lala and Viren are a bit of a job hazard for us in-house guys, because the companies now love to recruit partners of firms and practicing lawyers as their general counsels. So, my career growth depends on them not being interested in the company roles. I'm counting on that for a bit. I don't think I have enough to speak to you for 20 minutes, but if I really have to leave you with a few thoughts, the one thing that I will say is that, like what Prateek said, ensure that you get a flavor of the practical side of things. What we study in our books are great, but if you don't know how to apply them, then it becomes a bit of a challenge. So ensure that you get the practical flavor of applying the law that you are learning. Of course, you have great professors here, you have great mentors here, so I'm sure they can guide you to the right direction. But do ensure that you take that flavor, because without that, once you are thrown into the deep sea, it becomes a bit of a challenge. The second thing is, it's a bit of a fashion now to not stick to companies. You tend to skip from one to the other. That you see across in whether it's legal professionals or otherwise. On this issue, I am a bit old school. I would always say that when you join somewhere, give it a bit of time so that you at least learn the craft before you move on. That's of course much later in your career, but then just, I do see a lot of people who are joining with me or within the department now who have shifted multiple jobs and may not be able to articulate what they have done because they have jumped jobs very quickly. So do stick around, be confident about what you have worked on before you decide to move on. And thirdly, of course, as Prateek said, network. Be out there, meet people. And now you have a great alumni. We didn't have that. I'm not counting us. I'm counting the people, much later on. But you do have a great, an alumni base. Reach out to them, keep in touch, see what they are doing, see what you can learn from them. Lastly, I think, when it comes to the profession of law, there is a lot to, of course there is the law, but it's a lot more than that. When you get into the profession, or when you get into a firm, or when you get into a company, you are not just doing legal work. A lot of the work that you are doing is applying common sense. So read, not just law books, read around, be informed, be aware of what's happening around you. So that, when you are sitting in a discussion, or when you are interacting with a client, or when you are interacting with somebody who's trying to recruit you, you seem informed and you seem to know what is happening around you beyond your books. Lastly, there is a question that I generally get to say that what are the advantages of working in-house versus, working in a firm or having a practice? Honestly, there aren't, so I don't have anything to count. There are a few myths which I think you should be aware of. One of them is, if you want to avoid the 12-hour working sessions that Prateek is talking about, join a company. I'm sorry, that does not happen. When you join a company, you'll end up doing as much work. Second, I have heard so many people say, I don't like litigation, so I will either join a corporate firm or a company. A myth again. If you don't like litigation, maybe in-house job is not for you, because as in-house counsels, you are probably strategizing on litigations much more than the counsel who is appearing, because unless you feed him the information, he cannot go to court. Of course, a lot more gyan coming away from Viren. And lastly, in-house is a little bit more calmer, as in there isn't as much work pressure. Honestly, the volume of work that firms and practitioners put out is much more, for sure, but then the work pressure does not really reduce. So, if you want a comfortable job, then maybe in-house is also not for you. So that's it from my side. Happy to hear you guys. I hope nobody's sleeping, and thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. Now it's my pleasure to warmly welcome Mr. Viren, our esteemed panelist for today's discussion. Sir was in passionate motor, and interestingly, the first student from our university to win a moot court competition, a feat that set a benchmark for many today. Since then, he has built an impressive career, having worked with Dua Associates, now heading his own firm. Today, he returns to his alma mater to share his journey, insights, and expertise with the next generation of legal minds. We are honored to have you here with us today, sir.
Thank you, sir, for having me today. It's great to be back in CMR. It was 2011 when I was last here, sitting in this very hall with the same air conditioning working the same way. So, if there's one thing you can change, please change the air conditioning. And just before graduation, I remember we had the same conference with panelists on stage asking us whether we wanted to do litigation or whether we wanted to do corporate law at that point of time. And I was in the same position that y'all are in today. Like, what do I choose? Is litigation going to pay well? Is corporate going to pay well? Is in-house going to pay well? Should we go for higher studies? Should we do an LLM? Should we do a PhD? And I will tell you the practical aspects in all these years of practice since I graduated from CMR Law School. Now, back in 2011, that's my final year of law school. It was my first internship that I had done. During those days, we didn't have compulsory internships. So during the first 4 years of college, we would finish college, go home, study maybe 1 week before the exams, just pass the exams, and then move on to the next semester and the next year. But it was during the final year of college, when I was 1 year junior to Prateek and Surup, once they graduated, they had told me about the seriousness of graduating and how everyone needs to be aware of what is out there in the world once they graduate. Now, in 2011, I was doing an internship with the Honorable Senior Counsel named Mr. B.V. Acharya, who is around 85 years of age. And at that time, he was a senior counsel and a public prosecutor. And that was my first internship that I had done, which I had got through a friend. I was not really interested in internships because I thought, okay, after we finish college, somebody's going to come and place us and we'll apply to any company or any law firm and they will take us in. So, but my friend told me, no, just intern and see how it goes. And at that moment, we were handling the Jailalita case and we were having the Swami Nityananda case, if you all have heard of those two people. And looking at the senior counsel and how he went about his work, the meticulous preparation, and even at that point of time, he was somewhere around 70 years of age, sitting in the office till about 10:30, 11 in the night, getting prepared for the next day, is what has inculcated in me the work ethic. And I did that internship for about 6 months. And then I asked Mr. Acharya, I said, Mr. Acharya, like, what are the starting salaries of a new lawyer who is just entering into the profession? And he said, honestly, Viren, all junior lawyers at that point of time will start with somewhere around 15 or 20,000 is what he had stated. So, me thinking at that point of time, okay, that seems a little bit low. What other choice do I have? And then I heard of my other friends who were seniors getting into corporate law starting with 40, 50, 60, 70,000. And so it was natural for me to think of entering into the corporate profession rather than into the litigation profession. So what did I do once I graduated? And at that point of time, we had no placements. So we had no idea what are the law firms, what are the companies, what was litigation. Nobody came to our college at that point of time. And so the whole process, which is very, very important for all of you all, is to how to secure that job at either a law firm or at a lawyer's office, because it will all boil down to that. See, y'all are in a pool of maybe about 5,000 or 8,000 students graduating from either Bangalore or the whole of Karnataka. Now, how are you going to get chosen by that one partner, by that one lawyer who heads the firm and says, okay, this is somebody who I can count on? What I had done is, once I graduated law school, I had made my CV and I had sent it to about 150 law firms all over India. Blanket, copy paste, sent it to 150. I didn't receive a single reply from any of those law firms. And then I did a little bit of research online as to why these law firms not replying to me. Why haven't I received a good offer? I mean, grades were good, I was a good mooter, I'd gone for debates, I'd done, what was that? Parliamentary mock parliament, we had done, we had won all those trophies, we played sport, our marks were good in 10, but how come they didn't see the potential? And then I realized that we were in a pool of students from ILS Pune, from SIMBI, from NLS, from Nalsar Hyderabad, like how would the partner take a look at us? And then I had a friend, he was a senior in school, and he told me, Viren, none of the partners check the general email of the law firms because they are receiving hundreds and thousands of emails from students day in and day out. It is only the admin guy. He said, the most important thing is research the partner you want to work under. Most important. What type of work you want to do, who is the partner you want to work under. Look at the type of work he does, and if you're interested, get his direct email, official email, and send your CV to him. So I thought, okay, in Bangalore, there are about 4 or 5 law firms in Bangalore. I researched the partners, and then I was interested into associates, so I sent my email directly to the partner's email. And also what it is, I sent it by registered post also, to make sure that he received it. About 5 days later, he called me up and he said, Viren, I've received your post. I'm interested in your profile. Please come into the office for an interview. So this is back in 2011. So I was excited. top 10 law firms in India. They were known for litigation at that time, but they were also had corporate. But since I wanted a higher salary, I said, let me do corporate. So I get into the office and the partner is sitting there and he's holding the CV that I sent by post. And then I asked him, sir, did you receive my CV by email? He said, no, Viren, we don't check that. We don't check that email. That's just a general email. And we had a very nice discussion about what are the roles and responsibilities of new law students who have just graduated. What is the experience that you need to have to work in the firm? And he told me that, Viren, you don't have a single corporate internship under your belt. But the way you articulate and the way you communicate is what we require in this field because we do a lot of drafting and conveyancing. So one of the most important things is if you want to get into corporate, your language skills have to be impeccable. Learn your letter writing, learn your drafting, learn your contracts because one comma can change the whole document. And I've seen a person in our firm get fired because of a wrong placing of a comma which changed the whole document. So be careful with that. Then while working in corporate, the work was good. Hours were long, as Prateek said, 12 hours a day. You work with good corporate clients. But when we were working, we would never actually meet the client. Everything was over email. Because they are in-house counsels, the corporates, they are based in Bombay, they are based in Delhi, they are based all over the world. So you never get to meet them face-to-face, it's all through email. Now, because I was a new joinee in the law firm, they didn't have place for me right next to the corporate team. So they had a place right next to the litigation team. So while working day in and day out, the litigation team would leave at 9:30 in the morning, go into the court, come back sometimes around 1:30 for lunch, head back to the court again come back at 5:30 and then leave by around 8, 9 in the night. While we would be sitting in the office the whole day just drafting. And I found the discussions that the litigation team had were more interesting than the work that I was doing. And that is where my love for litigation started. And so the partner of the litigation team told me, Viren, are you interested in corporate? Are you interested in litigation? Why don't you join your hands at litigation? So I said, okay, sir, I don't mind trying my hand at litigation. But he said, there will be a reduction in salary, is what he said. So I said, okay, let's try my hand at litigation. So the first case that I was thrown into court, the senior counsel told me, Viren, go to the court, take a date for this case because I'm not ready to argue, just take a date for next week. So I thought, okay, what's the big deal? Take the case file, go into court, stand before the judge, case is called, and take a date. I go stand in the court and then I realized for the first time that all the case numbers were being called out in Kannada, which I had no clue at that time. Imagine trying to listen to a number 26,355 in Kannada. I missed the case because I didn't know the number. I missed the date. The judge had passed an order that date, which went against us. So I had no clue what to do. First day, I called my other colleagues in the office and I said, my God, I missed the case. What is to be done? So. They said, okay, don't worry, because they had a little more experience at that. They said, we will handle it with the senior. We'll make sure that the orders are overturned. Eventually got overturned in a couple of weeks. But then the senior told me, Viren, the most important thing you have to know in litigation is you have to be aware of your surroundings, number one. And for those of you who are entering into litigation, for those of you who want to enter the profession that I am in, I'd say knowing the local language is very, 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 very important. For those of you all who are from Bangalore, or born and brought up in Bangalore, Kannada is important. For those of you all who are coming from out of state and want to practice in Bangalore, being a metropolitan city, you all need to know the local language. Because you can argue with the judge in English, that is not a problem. It is dealing with the court staff in the local language is where you will win your case. Pushing the file, getting the work done, getting pending things. That is where you will make your money as a lawyer. Because per day, a judge has around 300 cases per day. And you need to get your file and to let the judge listen to what you need and what your senior requires. So two things, your CV. Tune your CV to the partner that you want to work under. Don't just say, I'm ready to work anything. say, I want to work in litigation under this partner, or I want to do this type of corporate work. Send your CV directly to the partner's email. Don't do the registered post that I did. That was a trick that I had done back in the days. Then, once you get into the practice, it is a constant daily update of reading, voracious reading. See, what is happening now is that there are 26 high courts, around 26 or 28 high courts in India, plus we have one Supreme Court. And every single day the law is changing. They interpret the law every single day and change it every single day. Now the type of work that I do is I do civil, I do criminal, I do matrimonial, family matters. And so it is a wide range of cases that come before me. Now the age-old practice of having specialization in any field is gone. That's what our seniors used to do back in the day. But now, since we have technology at our fingertips, you can be a civil lawyer, you can be a criminal lawyer, you can be a family court lawyer, you can be a corporate litigation lawyer, all in one. If you know the general basic practice of litigation, there is no ceiling that you can't touch. Now, from the time that I had got into the litigation field to where I am now, there is a lot of ups and downs and learning. You will fail sometimes, you will gain a lot of knowledge, you will watch seniors argue, you will have senior counsels arguing against you. The most important thing is to have confidence, because if you read your work well and if you study your case, nobody can defeat you. Always have the confidence to go and argue. That's why I'm not sure if moons are compulsory for students. Sorry? Yeah. So I suggest all the juniors, all the first year, second year, third years to all go for moots. Because standing in front of high court judges, a division bench of high court judges is not easy. Because they know their stuff. In the lower courts, yes, you can take a date, you can say my senior is not coming, but in the high court, they will ask you to argue then and there. And you have to prepare. And why this profession is rewarding is I deal with a lot of individuals, more than companies. So you might have a divorce case, your aunt might have a real estate matter, your friend might have a criminal case. So it is an all-round effort into gaining experience in every single field. And the happiness that you see on the client's face at the end of the day, when you're the only person that they can trust to solve their matter, is fantastic. I'll give you an example. There were a bunch of parents who came to me a couple of months ago, and they said, Viren, all our kids have been arrested. They are in the police station. Please help. I said, what happened? So this was in an engineering college. They said about 30 of them have been caught for ganja smoking in the engineering college. So what to do? I said, okay. So I went with my junior colleague in the office, and we went and met that inspector, and the inspector said, listen, we did a raid in the college. We have found about 30 of them in possession. So finish that, go to the court at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, apply for bail granted. Now the problem with that is, in case the trial goes through, the imprisonment is 10 years for college students, which nobody wants. And so the police at that time said, no, we are on a complete drug overhaul in the state of Karnataka, and we will not tolerate any drug use. So I said, okay, fine, we'll go through the trial, we'll see what happens. So I approached the High Court of Karnataka, filed a petition for quashing. And this is where your knowledge and interpretation of law and your voracious reading comes into play. So the forensic report from the FSL laboratory had come back, and I argued before the High Court of Karnataka, before the division bench, stating that, yes, my lord. Check. Yes, my lord, they were all caught with this. However, it is not an offense for having this with them in their possession. So the judge asked, what do you mean it is not an offense? So I said, my lord, what they've been caught with is not ganja. And so he said, explain more. So what the students had with them is the leaves of the plant, the seeds, and the stick of the plant. Now, under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, it is only the flowering top of the plant that is ganja under the act. So if they were smoking the leaves, they are smoking the twigs and the seeds, that is not defined as ganja. So when the report came back that the students were caught with leaves and they were caught with the seeds and the twigs, automatically the case got quashed because it does not amount to ganja. So these are the small little things that only by reading throughout the day and the night that you will be able to get the relief that you want for your client. Now, a lot of students, a lot of interns who come to me ask me, Viren, should we get into litigation? Should we get into corporate? You know, we have come from out of town, we have to pay rent, we have to survive, we have to go out, we have to party. Is getting a job under litigation really that fruitful, and how much can you earn in litigation? Now, the initial years will be tough when you enter into litigation. The salary will not be that high, there will be a struggle. However, the most important thing I would state in litigation is making your contacts, and as I said, networking, because your friends and your clientele are the most important people to you. And making sure that you are able to help them in whatever way possible is what is your bread and butter at the end of the day. The second thing is your knowledge of law has to start from today. Thinking that it will happen in the future, don't go down that path. Know what you want to do, get into the litigation field. It is very, very, very rewarding. I'll give you an example. Right now, juniors, right straight out of law school, as I said, 20 to 30,000 is what the industry standard is in Bangalore for the first year. However, if you have one client that you can refer to the office, for example, now let's say you have a client who wants to go through a divorce, and let's say the office is charging say around 75,000 to about 1 lakh for a divorce. Around 80% of that goes to the junior advocate, and 20% is retained by the law firm. So a junior advocate with a salary of around 25,000 and then getting 80% of the 1 lakh, that's 80,000, you can easily earn about 1 lakh a month as a first year law student. So it is all about your contacts. Start your contacts, be visible, go around talking to people, show that your knowledge of law is impeccable, and study every day. See, there are wonderful websites like Live Law, Bar and Bench. Please keep those on your phone. You know, download those apps, read the news every day. And the most important thing is, please read the news every day and read the newspapers every day. Now, if you go through any news like the Times of India, Deccan Herald, the Hindu, you will see a lot of notices by lawyers in these newspapers. And that is where you will learn your drafting. You will see notices coming from the court, notices coming from lawyers' offices. Take those cutouts. I have a book that I've kept at home. I take out cuttings of newspapers every day of all the lawyer notices. Just go to any newspaper today in your library and look for the lawyers' notices. And that is where you will improve in this profession. And in terms of earning salary, there is no cap for a litigator. You can earn 1,000 rupees, you can earn 1 crore a year. There is absolutely no cap, and you can go even much higher. There are senior advocates today who are charging 25 lakhs just to enter the court today, per day. And they'll have 10 matters a day. So around 2.5 crores they're earning per day. There are many senior advocates in Bangalore who are doing that. So if you want to get into litigation, put in the hard work, read every single day, get your clientele, and please tune your CV, because I want all of you all to be placed in great law firms and great offices in Bangalore or wherever you are pursuing your education. Now, with regard to higher studies, I would suggest first get into the practice. You know, don't go directly to do your LLM or your PhDs. Get into the practice, do it for 1 year, do it for 2 years, because now a lot of the law firms and a lot of the offices are looking for what is called PQE, post-qualification experience, no? Where they prefer a person who has practical knowledge rather than somebody who has done maybe higher studies. You know, when I hire juniors in my office, I need to know whether they know the local language, whether they can speak English, whether they have a two-wheeler, because there are about 10 court complexes in Bangalore, whether they are able to travel from one place to the other. So, and whether they are able to understand basic law. That is the most important thing. Yes, your marks matter to a certain extent, but as Prateek and Surup had said, that the practical knowledge that you get outside, you will not get in law school. So learn your basics. For example, in litigation, if you can tell the senior advocate, I know how to stitch a file, he will hire you more than somebody who has an LLM and a PhD. Because that is exactly what we need at the end of the day to make sure that our case comes up for hearing. So learn the practicals, and you have maybe 1 or 2, when is your bar exam? December. So you'll have about 6 months. Please, please, please go to law offices in the evening. Start from today. Go for 2 hours. Learn the practical knowledge. Learn how to stitch a file. Learn how to fill in the copy application. Learn how to draft a petition. Learn how to draft bail. Because those are the things that advocates are looking for which you all will get hired. Just taking your CV there is not going to get you all hired. These are the small practical skills and tips which you all need to use. And I'm sure that one day you all will be speaking here just like me, another maybe 10 years down the line. So I wish you all the best. Any questions, I'm happy to answer with regard to the litigation profession. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing invaluable insights. Now I request Professor Ms. Darshana ma'am to moderate the question and answer session.
Before we get into the interactive Q&A session, I would like to extend our gratitude to our esteemed panelists and just to thank you for giving insights to our students. So to begin, students, please feel free to ask questions. This is why we're all gathered here. You can raise your hand if you want to ask a question. All right, so to begin, I'll just kick things off with one question, wherein what were the challenges that you all faced when you all were getting a job at that stage? And how did you overcome them? Because our target audience here is final year students, so they're literally on the cusp of getting into their careers. So what were your challenges and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so at that point in 2011, I had no idea of what the best law firms in India were. All I did, I just Googled it. I didn't know any of the partners. I did not know what work the law firms did. I just wanted a job because it was 5 years in law school. So what you all should do is please research the top 10 or the top 20 law firms in India. The top 10 or top 20 advocates in the city that you want to practice in or the state that you want to practice in, and aim to try and get into one of those offices. And as I stated earlier, sending your CV and tuning your CV to the particular firm, tuning your CV to the particular partner is very, 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 very important. And please articulate yourself really, really well when you are going for an interview, because the partner can pick up whether you will be a boon or you will do good for the firm. So those are the challenges that I say that really, really need to be done.
I think the biggest challenge for me was perception. Obviously, law firms have this perception that if you're from these national law schools, or during my time, the biggest ones were NLS, NALSA, Symbiosis, Alice, and a few other upcoming national law schools. But the perception was that national law school students were brighter, which I completely disagree with, because I work with a lot of non-national law school people and they're far better than them, and I'm sure some of you are sitting here as well. But I really had to fight that perception. When I joined the law firm, CMR was not heard of very well at that point in time because it had just started its journey. Now, of course, it's a very well-known brand in the law school space at least. So, people used to ask me, is this a real college, etc., etc. So I had to fight that perception, and I had to show them that, I am better than a national law school, and, the the education that's been imparted to me by some of the lecturers in my law school were equally good as your as a national law school. And the only way to prove that is you have to be out there and you have to work and show that you are there. You're a person that they want, and that perception I think you will continue to keep fighting. Because largely how our education system is evolved. But if you put your mind to it, there's nothing that you can't do. So that for me was the biggest challenge.
Since in-house was what I was looking at, I think the biggest challenge was how do you get an interview when you don't have an experience? So yeah, that I guess was the most confusing space because it just seemed that freshers were not welcome. It actually still is that situation. But yeah, I think then you sort of fumble around and figure it out. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll throw the floor open to the students. Would any of you like to ask our panelists some questions? You can raise your hands. Don't be shy.
Thank you, panelists. My question is to Viren, sir. So, reflecting back on your 14 years journey in litigation, it feels really proud and inspiring. Thank you. So, my question is, if you were to change any part of your journey between 2011 to 2025, what would you change and how would it have changed the course of your journey, or how would it have improved?
I would say that my networking at that point of time was not that great because I thought that I would do the work and then clients would just walk into the office. Now during practice you get a lot of cantankerous clients who walk in stating that I want this to be done, will you defend me in this case? And for a lot of the matters you will have to say no because a lot of principles are involved. Now, I handle a lot of criminal cases, and when many of my friends hear that I am a criminal lawyer, they think that I am defending 100% criminals who commit murder, dacoity, and all sorts of cases, and that is not true. So, what is happening in the profession now is that criminal cases can mean anything from false corporate fraud to somebody just trying to get one up over the other by filing a false case. So, many of the cases that we defend are all false cases that have been filed. And the conviction rate is less than 5% in Karnataka. 95% of the cases are all dismissed because they are all false cases. And during that time, what I would change from then to now is that I wish I would have read more, because then your profession builds up much, much faster. Because when you stand before the High Court of Karnataka or when you stand before judges and they ask you a question, you should know what they are talking about and you should be ready with an answer. Now, during those initial days, I would say, my lord, I'll think about it, I'll get back to you on the next date. So go in with every single detail and fact that you have and be confident that all your grounds are covered with your arguments that you're going to prepare. And that is what I would say, it's a lot of reading, daily reading. And that is how your language improves. That is how your arguments improve. That is how your perception before the judges improve. See, also the judges are human beings at the end of the day. Now, in a lot of the cases that we argue, sometimes our arguments come up at around 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening. Now the judges have had a long day. They have had a heavy lunch. They are listening to 30, 40 advocates. Now, it is not easy, even being as a student, to sit and listen to lectures. So you have to gauge and understand the judge that is sitting in front of you. We can argue for hours and hours and hours, but then you learn that even the judges have a short attention span of maybe around 10 or 15 minutes. And you have to concise your argument in those 10 and 15 minutes with bullet points, and that is what is going to win your case. So study well, get your points across in the least amount of time is what I would say. That one thing that I learned later on in the practice. So if you started from day one, I'm sure that you all will be great litigators within about 3 or 4 years. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Ritu.
Hi, so you mentioned that when you started practicing you didn't know Kannada and you clearly do now. So how did that work? Did you learn it?
Yeah, so it was a lot of trial and error. So what I done is a lot of my colleagues in the office that I joined, they knew Kannada. So I told them to start teaching me Kannada. Small little things like good morning, like what time are we going for lunch? And then I asked them to teach me the legal terms as to what is used in court. Like they would say, accused present, you learn in Kannada. Or they would say, where is the plaintiff in Kannada? Or the judge would say adjournment in Kannada. So it was I made a legal glossary of just the local language terms. And then you start understanding and then you get a grasp of the local language. Once you understand the basics of what they are going to call out in court. See, arguments are not going to be in Kannada. We argue only in English. In the High Court of Karnataka, we argue in English. In the lower courts, we argue in English. It is only during criminal trial that when the police officer comes in for cross-examination is when we have to cross-examine in Kannada. So it all depends on what type of case you are handling and who you are cross-examining in the court. So I would say, even if you don't know the local language now, start now. It is never too late to start. From not knowing numbers in Kannada, now I can argue Kannada, I can read Kannada, I can write, and that is the most important. It is never too late to start. You can start from today. But start small and just learn small little words. That's it. And then maybe in about a year you should be able to pick up the language.
So do you now know more than 2,000? Do you now know more than 2,000 numbers in Kannada?
Yeah, they go up to about 1 lakh now.
Would anyone else like to ask a question? Yes, at the back. Back there.
Good morning, sir. So my question is to Prateek, sir. Sir, could you please provide an insight as to how top-tier firms evaluate LLM degrees while considering any candidate for corporate jobs, considering that we usually do engage in research and writing rather than having a practical experience for 1 year. So how do top firms evaluate on these aspects?
I mean, law firms, like Viren was saying, evaluate freshers basis practical knowledge nowadays, honestly. So while LLM adds on, it's a value add to your CV. It's not something that law firms will specifically evaluate you on. For you to get a job, they will look at the number of internships you've done, and basis the partner you applied to, they will see what relevant internships you've done. So say you apply to a corporate partner, but you have only litigation experience, that it's of no use for that corporate partner. So they will either refer you to a litigation partner, or they will just reject the CV. But just to answer your questions, LLMs currently is a value add. LLMs from good law schools, give you a little bit of I would say additional knowledge in terms of your specialization, but that, I wouldn't equate that to the practical knowledge that you would have. But yeah, in your LLB course, you will learn something, say corporate law. You will learn basics of corporate law, right? You will learn about Companies Act, etc. But when you go to do LLM, they will fine tune that language. They will sort of give you an understanding of the entire gamut of the subject than a specific bare act that you're studying. So all of that from a principal perspective is very helpful, but I wouldn't say that it will sort of help you get a job. It may aid in it, but that's not the only thing that they will be looking at. They will be looking at your practical experience, your marks, as well as if you had an LLM, then that's just an add-on.
Thank you. Anyone else? Bihar.
Hi panelists. So I have two set of questions. One is to Prateek sir and then Viren sir. Firstly, I would like to ask Prateek sir, What is the ideal CV that a tier 1 law firm such as Trilegal sees to hire a fresher? What should be the contents of an ideal CV?
Firstly, don't make it five-pager CV. It just has to be one page. I get a lot of CVs that they've written everything like starting from I won many competition, etc. I mean, honestly, I'm not looking for that. So your ideal CV should have your, your educational qualification, how much marks you've sort of secured. Second would be the relevant internships that you've done. And like Viren was saying, you have to fine-tune your CV. So if you're applying to a litigation partner versus a corporate partner, your CVs have to look very different. So just for an example, if you're applying to a litigation partner, your litigation internship should be on top, followed by the corporate internship. If you're applying to corporate, then your corporate should be on top and then followed by that. So you essentially first have education, then you have your internship, and then you can have a miscellaneous clause where you can refer what moot courts you've done, what publications you have, if you've won anything like a press motor or you won something. All of those accolades you can put at the end, but it has to be precise. It has to be to the point. Don't write a 5-pager objective, etc. No one really cares about that. Just put basic stuff in a 1-pager, and that's the best part of it. I mean, as a recruiter or as a person who I will be seeing, I will essentially focus on the first 2 columns. Which college, how much you, what's your sort of marks, and then what internships you've done. And then if there's an LLM, etc., what specialization you've done is the final thing that I'll be looking at.
So, sir, having worked with the competition, does it work being hired here? Like, okay, personally speaking, I worked with JSA in TMT. So, will it help me get hired at Trilegal?
I mean, are you pitching for a job? I'm not sure.
Let's say partially.
I mean, really depends. I mean, I don't do TMT, but yeah, it does help. Of course, given that you've done an internship in a big law firm called like JSA, and if you've done a good job there, and the thing is, if you have one good internship, that also may not sort of place you above your competition. There will be, so at times I get CVs where there are 8 to 9 internships in top tier law firms people have done, right? So which is why we sort of tell you that, start from 3rd year so that you have at least 6 to 7 top internships. But given that if you have done say a TMT internship, you put in the details in your internship. If you do get called for an internship, make sure you know every aspect of the content that you had sort of absorbed during your internship. So people will ask you questions around what you did, and you that time better know what you've done so that you understand the depth of the subject that you've been dealing with. And that sort of, even if you don't have 5 internships in a TMT practice, even if you have 1, but you know your stuff and you know what you've done and you understand the contours of what you've done, that will help you secure a job in another, say a law firm.
Thank you, sir. My next question would be to Viren, sir. Hi again. So, sir, having already worked with you for quite a time, I didn't get much time to ask you this question, but now's the time. So, how should I go about, like, if I get into litigation, my partial interest lies in teaching as well. So, would it be possible to manage both?
See, it depends on the amount of work that you have in your hands. Now, see, sometimes we have 15 cases per day, sometimes 20, 25 cases per day, ranging from Monday to Saturday. And in litigation, please remember, Saturday is full day of court. Okay, so people think that they can go out on a Friday night, have a couple of drinks and, party on a Friday night. That is not possible in litigation. It is a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice. You will lose a lot of friends because a lot of them party on Friday nights and you won't have the time to go out and meet them. But at the end of the day, what is rewarding, as I had spoken earlier, is the relief that you get for your clients. And Neha, you had asked about the teaching. Yeah, about the teaching. Now, the thing is, it depends on, as I said, the practice that you have. I would say concentrate on your practice, because get about 10 years, 15 years experience in the field, and then it would be best suited for you to give practical knowledge to the students. So when I was in CMR Law School, we had a couple of teachers who were practicing lawyers. And she took us to the central jail. We met a lot of inmates there. She was a criminal lawyer practicing at that point of time. And now we are adversaries in court because we have cases against each other, defending our own clients. So I would say that first get the experience, because if you have maybe only about 1 or 2 years experience in the field practicing, you would not be able to impart that knowledge on the students which they actually need. Now we have gone through the rigorous of the whole process. Right now it's become very comfortable for us. Nothing can phase us in the course right now. So get your relevant experience first, and then I'm sure you'll be able to tell the students as to what exactly they need to do in the field. Do not start off right out of law school. This is my suggestion. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
And also just reply to the same question that you had asked Prateek Lala. Now he had replied with regard to a corporate job. And I'm talking about, I will state for a litigation job. Now when students come to me for a job, I will look at the CV first, whether they have graduated and whether they have passed their bar exam, because that is the most important thing for a litigant. Third thing is I give them 1 page of Kannada to see whether they can read or not. Because a lot of the real estate documents, a lot of the criminal cases, the documents are in Kannada. Okay, so you need to learn how to read the local language. Then I will ask them whether they know how to fill out the court forms, whether they know how to stitch a court form. Those are my 5 questions. If the student is able to pass those 5 questions, I will hire them. It does not matter whether they are failed in subjects, it does not matter whether they have done an LLM, because that is practically what litigants require right now in Bangalore. And every advocate in Bangalore will look for these 5 criteria. So once you learn these 5 aspects, you'll be able to get hired in any office in Bangalore.
My question is to Prateek sir. Sir, I have done my internships all in civil court, and later I developed interest towards commercial law and have done my CS foundation, now pursuing my executive level, and later I'm now doing my commercial law, LLM in commercial law, and I will be finishing in June. So without having any experience in internships in corporate field, now I want to enter into corporate field. How would you guide me, sir? Because I have no reference and I have also not done any internships in corporate.
There are a couple of things you can do. You can start by approaching firms saying that, listen, I've done X, Y, Z in terms of education, but I don't have practical knowledge. I'd like to gain practical knowledge. In spite of the fact that you've now passed out and you've done your LLM, offer to them that I'll be willing to do an internship with you for say a 6-month period or a 8-month period to gain adequate knowledge, and then thereafter why don't you evaluate me for a job. That internship may not pay you very much, but you are essentially putting yourself out there saying that, listen, I want to learn, I like this subject, I want to learn, I want to get the experience, and at the cost of not getting paid as much, I want to gain the experience which will help you. And a bunch of law firms look to sort of hire an intern, even if they finish their 5 years. And you get a lot of them who come and say that, listen, I'm willing to do internship with you. After they've graduated, they've now passed out, they are lawyers, but they're saying that, because the competition is as much, they say, why don't you assess me for a year? I'm willing to do work as an intern, and whatever is the nominal payment, I'm okay with that. So that's one thing that you can offer. And my suggestion would be for you to try your luck in terms of don't aim for like the first 4 law firms of the country, because there's too much competition anyway. There are some mid-tier law firms who will be happy to accept, say, an offer like that where you say that I'm going to work for a year as an intern. they will be much more amenable in sort of taking you on, giving you that exposure as an intern. Because for them, more manpower, they do a lot of volumes of work, right? So for them, more manpower is always helpful. So, an offer like that is always, so it's a win-win situation for them. And you will also get your, and of course, having a CS background, and you've done foundation, but if you do continue for finishing, of course, that's an add-on. A lot of companies look for CSs as well. Lawyers and CSs are a fairly in demand commodity right now. So that's something that you should pursue. And you just approach law firms and say that, look, I'd like to do some projects with you, in spite of me not having relevant experience. So that I think will help.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any more questions? Okay, to conclude, I have two questions. One to Mr. Surup. How do you choose a particular company when you're graduating? Because you have companies in the area of FMCG, real estate, consultancy. So how do you narrow down and try and figure out the right company for you at that starting juncture itself?
Oh, wow, that's a difficult question. Well, there's an honest answer and there's a more curated answer. Let me first give the curated answer. Honestly, you can figure out where you want to work by your interest. So, for example, if you want to do, say, banking, right? If that's your field of interest, then you know where to apply. If you are interested in technology, then there is a lot of companies that you can apply to. There are companies which will look at interns because, which will look at freshers because they believe that they don't need to shell out so much of money to get the legal expertise. So I guess you choose on the basis of your field of interest and then decide where you want to work and accordingly apply to the companies. A more honest answer is that if you really want to get into the in-house space, then start off. Go wherever you get, take that first step. And I mean, I can tell you from experience, I have jumped 5 industries now. So eventually, if you have a calling for a particular industry, you will land there. But the important thing is starting off.
Thank you so much. Our last question is for all the panelists. As Viren sir had also said that the law changes every day. And I'm sure all of you are aware that every day you have niche areas in law cropping up. And a lot of us want to get into those particular areas. So I'm sure a lot of you may be a little confused as well. So at that stage, how do you as recruiters at your position, guide these students, or what are you all looking for in terms of niche areas as well?
Yeah, I would say that litigation is completely different from corporate. In litigation, what we do is we interpret every single thing that companies get into, litigation between people, litigation between corporates and individuals, and intercorporate litigation. Now, if you want to go to specialization, I would say in this day and age, that would be a bad move in litigation, because then you will only have one set of clientele. Now, if I were to only get into family law, say for example, then it will be very, very difficult to maintain that practice, because then you'll be expecting couples who are going to divorce only to walk into your office. But because we deal with individuals, there is a multitude of problems that families and individuals face. So if I do a good job for Prateek, he will refer his friend to me for another matter. So I would say in litigation, keep your horizons completely open. Do not state in your CV that you only want to do criminal litigation or you only want to do civil litigation, because all the lawyers in Bangalore do both criminal, civil and corporate litigation. So keep your options open and read, learn the law and apply yourselves, and do not choose only a single pathway in litigation is what my advice is.
I just want to understand the question.
No, just with ever-evolving changes, and so a lot of boutique law firms are cropping up that are, specializing in one area itself. So how do you counter that? And as a practitioner yourself, what is your advice for them?
I mean, I wouldn't counter that, but I would possibly embrace it. So when in a law firm situation, at least in the top law firms in the country, there are like the niche that you're talking about. There are divisions that are created. So Trilegal, for example, is a full service law firm which has all bases covered. But you will be placed in one particular division, and you sort of pick up the tips of trade from that division. So I've done M&A all my life, and once you are in a practice area, you sort of develop your expertise basis that practice area. Now, someone telling me to go and appear before the court, I may not be able to do it as well. So, in top law firms at least, it really depends on what you really want to do. There are amateurs of the world who essentially do something called rotation. In the first year, they will put you in different practice areas, and you figure out which one you like, and then eventually you can join them. But in terms of the boutique law firms, look, they practice very specific areas, and as soon as you pass out, you will not know about the nuances of what that practice area will bring, right? You just basis like Surup said, just start, and once you start, you will gather enough knowledge to understand whether you really like that area or not. And if you really don't, and like Viren was saying, he didn't like corporate after working there. So you will get that, that inner voice that will say that this is not what I want to do. And then you then explore some other area. Yes, that's a loss of say maybe a year or something, but this is a marathon, it's not a race. So critical for you to have like a 30-year-long career, at some level you will have to like what you do. If you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to last. So I would suggest, through internship is a great way for you to understand what you like and what you dislike. But if you've not had the chance to do that, then maybe just dabble in it a bit for the first 2-3 years of your career, see what you like, and then thereafter sort of embrace a practice area and sort of develop your skill level.
Actually, from an in-house perspective, I think it's a slightly different lens. The head of legal in companies are called general counsels. There is a reason for that. As sitting as the head of the legal department, you do not have the choice of saying, I don't know litigation, I don't know M&A, I don't know intellectual property. You need to dabble in everything. And therefore, it is, if in-house is what you want to do, then my suggestion is do everything. Because as you grow, as you get into senior positions and you need to sit in board meetings or you need to sit with the management team of the company, the questions will involve everything from a particular employee has given me a notice, what do I do? To I want to acquire a company, what are the steps? To, I think this is a great brand, can I launch it? And for you to say, hey, you know what, this is a trademark infringement. So you need to know everything. So from an in-house perspective, I would say don't specialize. If you want to become a general counsel, then be general and not specialist.
Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry, one last thing I want to tell you all is, apart from the competition that you will have competition from artificial intelligence as well. In the next 1 or 2 years, there's going to be a lot of stuff that we make freshers, etc. do that will eventually get replaced by artificial intelligence. So that's again another reason for you to upskill basis what you like and ensure that you know where you want to be in the career, and you have to track your path accordingly, because not only human capital, but you also have AI, inhuman capital, which will become your role.
Thank you so much. We'll take one last question.
So, apart from the law firms and the corporates, is it good for a fresher who graduates from the law school to join a legal wing of a political party?
I can say yes.
As law and politics is interlinked in one another ways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much. He was a politician and came to do law, and then he went back to being a politician in Kerala. But I don't have enough expertise to comment.
See, at the end of the day, it depends on whether you're feeling fulfilled with your profession. Now, of course, everybody has bills to pay. If you're able to earn what you want in that profession, go for it. I mean, you can do law and then you can do so much with law. You know, you can join companies, you can get a law firm, you can be a litigation lawyer, you can join private in-house, you can be part of a political party. That's absolutely not an issue. There's absolutely no risk to it, because I'm sure political parties have unlimited litigation. In whether you join Congress, BJP, whichever political party, defamation is there in all these political parties. And if they pay you well, why not? You know, go for it. But many political parties want you to do work for free. Okay, so you have to be careful as to where you join and what your terms and conditions are. But don't directly join a political party, because you will not have the experience in court. Do litigation. See how the criminal cases for defamation go on. See how the civil cases for defamation go on. You know, what are the practical aspects? You know, when they get imprisoned, research all the cases. See, Arnab Goswami defamation. Then last week, that MP from Assam defamation against that Mrs. Qureshi, our Indian Army officer. So there are so many examples where you can take cue as to how to go about this field. But enter to the litigation field, get that experience, and then join a political party. That's my suggestion to you.
Thank you.